What if one of your best everyday habits could actually become the reason you need surgery? That is exactly the surprising situation Kelly Ripa recently found herself facing. The longtime television host has opened up about undergoing a painful gum procedure after years of being overly aggressive with something most people are encouraged to do every day: brushing her teeth. For someone who spends much of her life in front of cameras, Kelly's smile is obviously a major part of her on-screen presence. But behind that familiar smile was a dental issue that had been developing for years. And when the problem eventually required surgery, Kelly was forced to step away from her usual routine and deal with a recovery that was far more uncomfortable than she expected. The story has attracted attention not simply because Kelly Ripa had a dental procedure, but because the reason behind it is surprisingly relatable. Her determination to maintain excellent dental hygiene apparently went too far, contributing to gum recession and eventually leading to a gum graft procedure. Kelly has never been afraid to talk openly about the less glamorous parts of life, and this latest revelation is another example of that honesty. Instead of keeping the experience private, she explained what happened, why she needed the procedure, and what recovery was like. And there is an important lesson hidden inside her story. When it comes to taking care of yourself, sometimes doing more isn't necessarily better. Kelly Ripa has spent decades becoming one of daytime television's most recognizable personalities. From her early years on television to her long-running role as host of Live, she has built a career around energy, humor, and an ability to connect with viewers. Today, Kelly is also known for sharing plenty of details about her personal life. Whether she is talking about her family, her marriage to Mark Consuelo's, aging, beauty routines, or everyday mishaps, she often approaches those conversations with humor. That openness made her explanation of her dental surgery especially interesting. The issue wasn't connected to some mysterious illness or sudden medical crisis. Instead, it involved her gums, and more specifically, gum recession. Gum recession happens when the gum tissue surrounding a tooth pulls back or wears away, exposing more of the tooth. There can be a number of causes, including genetics, periodontal disease, aging, and mechanical factors such as aggressive brushing. In Kelly's case, she connected the problem to her own brushing habits. It might sound strange. After all, brushing your teeth is one of the most basic recommendations for maintaining good oral health. But Kelly explained that she had developed what she described as a good-bad habit. She was brushing too aggressively. Her intention was clearly positive. She wanted to keep her teeth clean and healthy. But over time, brushing with too much force can contribute to damage around the gum line. That eventually became serious enough that a dental professional recommended surgery. And here's where the story becomes even more interesting. According to Kelly's account, the procedure wasn't something that suddenly appeared on her schedule. Her dentist had apparently recommended the gum graft years earlier. Kelly said she had been putting it off for approximately 5 years. Like many people, she wasn't exactly rushing toward a surgical procedure. Instead, she continued with her normal routine and delayed the decision. But eventually, the issue could no longer simply be ignored. Kelly finally underwent the procedure, and the recovery was painful enough to affect her work. That became particularly significant because Kelly's job requires something most people take completely for granted: talking. She is a television host. Her entire morning involves conversations, interviews, jokes, and spontaneous exchanges with her co-host and guests. But following the procedure, she was instructed to limit or avoid talking while the area healed. Suddenly, one of daytime television's most talkative personalities had to do the one thing she is rarely asked to do: stay quiet. That created an unusual situation for Live with Kelly and Mark. Kelly was temporarily absent, while Mark Consuelos continued hosting the program alongside guest co-hosts. Mark explained the situation to viewers, helping put speculation to rest and reassuring fans that Kelly wasn't dealing with some unexplained emergency. Instead, she was recovering from the dental surgery and following medical instructions. For Kelly, the recovery involved more than simply taking a day off. She reportedly had to follow restrictions designed to protect the surgical area while it healed. Soft foods were part of the recovery process, and she also had to avoid certain activities that could interfere with healing. The experience gave her a very different perspective on something she had previously considered routine. And perhaps the most ironic part was that her excessive commitment to brushing had contributed to the very problem she was now trying to fix. This doesn't mean brushing your teeth is bad. Quite the opposite. The important distinction is how you brush. Dental professionals generally recommend brushing gently rather than scrubbing aggressively. A soft bristled toothbrush and proper technique can help clean the teeth without unnecessarily irritating the gums. Kelly's story therefore shouldn't be interpreted as a warning to stop brushing or as medical advice for everyone. Instead, it is a reminder that oral health isn't simply about doing something as much as possible. Technique matters. Regular dental checkups matter. And if a dentist notices a problem, ignoring it for years may eventually make the situation more complicated. Kelly's decision to share the story also makes it more relatable because dental problems are something millions of people experience. Unlike glamorous red carpet stories, dental surgery isn't exactly the kind of topic celebrities usually rush to discuss. But Kelly's willingness to talk about it removes some of that distance between celebrity life and everyday life. She may be famous, but she still has ordinary health concerns. And in this case, an everyday habit produced an unexpected consequence. The timing also created an unusual moment for Mark Consuelos. As Kelly's husband and television co-host, Mark found himself explaining why his partner wasn't sitting beside him. The couple's relationship has become part of the identity of Live with Kelly and Mark. Their chemistry is based not only on their television partnership, but also on the fact that they have been married for decades. So whenever one of them is absent, viewers notice. Mark's comments gave fans some reassurance while also providing a humorous look at the situation. After all, Kelly being told not to talk is almost comical when you consider her profession. For someone who spends hours talking on television, having to remain silent must have been especially challenging. Yet the seriousness of the recovery was also clear. The decision to stay away from the show demonstrated that Kelly was taking the healing process seriously rather than trying to return too quickly. That's important because recovery from any procedure requires patience. And Kelly's situation highlights another interesting aspect of celebrity culture. Fans often see television personalities looking polished and energetic every day. They may appear as though nothing could possibly interrupt their routine. But behind the scenes, they can experience the same health problems, appointments, and recovery periods as everyone else. Kelly's dental procedure temporarily disrupted that polished routine. Instead of being in the studio, she had to focus on healing. Instead of talking constantly, she had to remain quiet. And instead of brushing off the procedure, she had to acknowledge that a problem she had delayed for years finally needed attention. Her story also raises questions about how much pressure people put on themselves when it comes to appearance. For television personalities, maintaining a healthy-looking smile can feel particularly important. Kelly has spent much of her professional life under studio lighting and high-definition cameras, where small details can become extremely visible. But trying too hard to maintain a perfect appearance can sometimes have unintended consequences. In Kelly's case, the desire for excellent dental hygiene apparently became too aggressive. The bigger lesson isn't about vanity. It's about balance. Good habits can become counterproductive when they're taken to extremes. The story has also sparked curiosity among fans because Kelly's absence from Live was noticeable. Whenever a familiar host disappears unexpectedly, viewers naturally begin asking questions. Is the person sick? Are they taking time off? Is there a behind-the-scenes issue? In this case, the explanation was relatively straightforward. Kelly needed time to recover. And while guest hosts could keep the show moving, there was no real substitute for the person viewers were waiting to see return. Her absence also reminded audiences just how central Kelly remains